Right, welcome everyone to the Stew Review. For those of you not listening to the podcast audio, you may notice a slight visual change on our YouTube channel, where myself am sitting here, and we have Toby, who, following on from previous recordings, is sat in his tent, because he has indeed began his mighty bike ride to Scotland. Is that correct, Toby?
Indeed, yeah, absolutely. I haven't got too far so far, but we're on the road. So
where are you? Banbury? Is that or thereabouts?
I'm just north of Banbury. I'm in a place called Great Bourton, which is a little bit north of Banbury, and just outside property.
Cool. So how does this bode time wise for your trip to Scotland?
I've no idea. I've not actually dared to calculate on my form so far to think how long it will take. So I'm just sort of sorting out what it's like to camp again, really, and sorting out how to operate within the tent and on a bike and all that. So I've yet to do that bit.
Well, and also try and do a film podcast while on the road as well, as the case may be. So I suppose, well, seeing as you're cycling away, I guess we should probably just start by finding out, have you run into any film related activities on your journey so far, or anything that's reminded you of any?
No, I did quite an interesting stop I made at near a little village called Helmsden, I think it was, but where I came across a road sign with a tank on it, and I thought, what's this going on here? And I sort of rode past, and there was this woman standing by a gate and a huge tank by the gate. And I carried on for a bit, and then I thought, no, I've got to turn around and go and investigate this. So I rode in, and she was very friendly, and it turned out it's a company called Tanks A Lot, which has something like 12 operating tanks and various other military vehicles that people are able to go and drive over cars and things.
Oh right, so you didn't get an opportunity to get in the tank yourself, but.
No, but it was quite funny. I walked round the corner of this place, and there were all these blokes in combat gear that weren't in the army. They were there on some kind of course, but it was just really.
So they better get into character.
They're all having their tea and stuff, and I ended up talking to a survival guy, which was quite good, about cookers, and then I.
Did you get some sage advice?
Yeah. And there's a link with that in a bit.
Okay.
And by chance, if that's the right phrase, my trailer actually broke while I was in the yard. The bracket of the trailer wheel completely bent, but buckled up, and the wheel went absolutely skewy. But fortunately, I had this massive workshop full of tools. I said, "Oh well, let's go and find some tools." Because I have a spanner, but some extra tools helps, and I've got other spanners and.
So has it been a sufficient repair job that's going to do you for the journey, or do you need to get a replacement somewhere along the line, do you reckon?
Cross fingers, but it's going to be dodgy. So if I pass another workshop, I will go in and just say, look, can you have a look at this for a few quid? And I don't know, it might need a new bolt, probably as simple as that. But it was just quite funny that I was in a place that was very helpful when it all went wrong.
Okay.
Cool. They did offer me a chance to do stuff, but I couldn't stay. I had to get to a campsite that night. So
Oh well, yeah, it worked out quite handily. So that does bring us on slightly to.
Sorry.
Oh right, yeah.
Saying about film, they rent their tanks out for films. The most famous one they rented out, one or two, was for Black Hawk Down.
Oh right, okay.
They also rented some out for the Band of Brothers series.
Yeah.
So they do that, and so therefore there is a little bit of a tank theme today.
So you said that's exactly what it's brought us on to. Is that you sent me two, didn't you? You sent me tanks and English Civil War films.
Yeah.
Which have you got an anecdote to lead into that a bit later, or does it link in with the tanks?
That's a little bit later. That was the end of my day journey on that particular day, so we can go into Civil War.
Should we hold that off and we'll do a bit of trailer news now for the time being, and then we'll get into tanks, and then you can explain why. It was a pretty tough task finding English Civil War films as well, I must say.
Yeah,
all Americans.
ones. But
It's just all those Americans making films about their own civil wars. Anyway, so film news. Now we're a few minutes in. First thing on the note, we haven't missed a massive amount, I think, since we've gone. I guess sort of summer blockbusters are slowly rolling out, and therefore people are holding off the whole news of what's to come. But top of the list, we've got the new Spielberg Hanks picture Bridge of Spies, which I think's got a US release date of October 16th. Obviously, it's the previous. Well, the Hanks and Spielberg have had a good bit of previous with some fairly decent films in Saving Private Ryan from '98, Catch Me If You Can in 2002, and also The Terminal, which I think I remember you said you watched not too long ago, from 2004. They've also released a trailer for it as well. So, what do you think?
Well, fantastic pedigree, as you suggested there. Hanks is always worth a watch. It's not my cup of tea, this sort of thing. Even from the trailer, it was a real big boomy boom soundtrack. I can't imagine how awful that would be in a cinema. I just blow your socks off and all that. But intrigue, espionage. I wouldn't bother. I certainly wouldn't bother myself with that one unless it came on free somewhere.
I don't know, I was getting the feeling it looked a bit like sort of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, kind of lots of diplomacy in smoke-filled rooms or what have you. Doesn't do it for you?
Yeah. No, it didn't.
Even the promise of Hanks and Spielberg is not enough to bring
Well,
you
it just
round.
looked. The whole light quality was it successfully reflected that kind of atmosphere of the Cold War, and I don't really want to go through. I'm happy that the Cold War is finished, and I don't really want to revisit it myself.
Okay.
So that's
Right, should we move on to the next one then? Which we do seem to have a bit of James Bond every single recording. Where would we be without him? So yeah, I mean, we weren't. I wasn't. I was okay on it. You weren't too happy by the first Spectre trailer we had a look at a month or so ago, but they've released a full theatrical trailer now, and I believe it's coming out UK release. I think it's October 26th for Spectre, which I thought it was a pretty decent trailer. I thought it would give you a good oversight of what was going on. What were your? Is it inspiring you at all?
Well, Craig's energy comes across, his sort of grittiness and his energy. I think he's not got the one-liners down, the style of the classic, Sean Connery delivering a one-liner, and even Roger Moore. But he can do the jumpy around stuff pretty.
Yeah.
And like I think I said before, it was always nice to see Christoph Waltz. I don't. Without the humour of Django Unchained and the other Tarantino one, Inglourious Basterds. Without the humour,
with an E, not an A.
Without the humour he brought into those two characters, I'm not sure he can do the straight, full-on baddie. But I'd be interested to see if you can. I didn't see that Gilliam. Excuse me, I've got a bit hazy. Gilliam last one where he was in, where he played much more of a straight character. Did you see any of that? Like
the last Gilliam. Which film was that?
It looked all a bit grim. It was about some machine that. I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't see that.
It's not getting. Are we talking years ago now, or are we talking?
No, just like within the last year.
Oh, okay. No, yeah.
I forget. It did inspire me.
I don't remember us talking about it. Put it that way. Okay. Actually, got an interesting question then. On the Bond thing, she brought up the whole Daniel Craig, Sean Connery. Would that trailer have worked better if you had Sean Connery star? If that was a Sean Connery Bond in that trailer?
Well, like I say, they had a clip of him delivering a one-liner, and it was rubbish. I mean, you or I could have done better. And I just imagined Sean Connery delivering it, and and you'd have gone, oh yeah, that's cool. And but so he can do the runny, jumpy stuff, but he can't. I don't think he's much of a vocal actor, really.
No. Okay. Which actually might come on. We've got a bit of Tom Hardy in a bit, so.
Yeah.
Talking of vocal actors. Next trailer is I haven't seen any of these. However, I do believe you have, which is the sort of the kind of popular teen franchise, The Hunger Games, which is sort of the grammatically challenged Hunger Games : Mockingjay, Part 2, which is a bit a nightmare for any lexicographers who are trying to work out, or grammaticians who are trying to work out how to do that, because normally you put the colon after the Mockingjay, but you've got a 3-clause title here, which puts me off slightly.
I think it's a money-making thing. They obviously had the big, impactful last segment of the story, and they've waited to put and probably expand on it from the books. I don't know, I haven't read the books, into this last film. So it's going to be a lot of action that comes across in the trailer. Looks much more exciting than the last one. They got all this sort of slightly more boring stuff done in the last one. I absolutely lost interest in the third.
Yeah. So what you reckon, they've got the narrative out of the way, and then the second one's going to be all the action, basically? Is that the
shoot, blow up, all that sort of stuff? And so that might be a bit too much. I imagine there won't be much of a change in pace. Just be full on. Let's go and get Donald Sutherland and whatever. Which seems to be the, that they haven't hidden the main theme of the narrative in the trailer. So
well,
basically, what happened?
Indeed, well, that's got a UK and US release on November the 20th, so still a way off. And then it's an interesting one. I sent you, was it yesterday afternoon? I think it was, wasn't it? Because talking of kind of terrible trailers, we weren't at all interested by the Cray twins. Tom Hardy, Cray twins trailer for Legend, which the first one was just unbelievably, well, it was just nothing. It was absolutely nothing.
Flat.
Flat. Nothing happens at all. However, they've released a new trailer, and it becomes a lot more intriguing. Does it kind of feel like Tom Hardy pretty much seems to be doing a comedy double act with himself, which might be a sort of getting towards the first for mainstream Hollywood cinema. But are you slightly more interested by this?
Absolutely. Out of recent trailers out, this is definitely a film I want to go and see.
It's really jumped in your expectations in that case.
It had a lot of spice and sparkle and vim about it, and Tom Hardy's always good quality, and they show a bit more of his acting and the difference between Ronnie and Reggie Cray. They portrayed that, they show that a bit more in this second trailer, and you can see the difference. It's a very subtly performance, it would seem, without seeing the actual film. So we're into Hardy country, and that's a place I'd like to cycle.
Indeed. So that's out 9th of September, so we might end up doing another bit or two on that over the next coming weeks or months. And last one, which again actually it received, I don't know if a lot of nominations, I don't know necessarily that many awards, was the Maze Runner from last year. So they've got a sequel to that, Maze Runner 2, The Scorch Trials is the subtitle, with a correctly placed colon, because it's only a 2-clause title this time. And I looked at that and thought, I had a look at having not seen the Maze Runner or seen the Hunger Games, I kind of looked at both trailers and thought, this isn't almost the same film. It's basically kind of a group of young 20-somethings, maybe a little younger, basically running away from stuff because the adults are sort of some kind of maniacal controllers in some sort of situation. What did you think of this? Is it? Well, actually, go back to the original question. Is the Hunger Games and the Maze Runner completely different franchises? I didn't get it from the trailers, but then I haven't watched the previous things. And what do you think of this one?
The sequel to the Maze Runner, it looked a bit forgettable to me. It looked a bit like a kind of, it's like, not bland's not the right word, but it looked like a computer game.
There's some zombie alien things in it.
I'm sort of interested in the plot line. What I think the plot line basically is that the maze was a way of finding a sufficient number of talented, skillful young people to then go into the real world, which they find outside the maze, to help with some certain problems. That's all you're sort of told. But then there's twists. I understand from this trailer. I'm kind of interested in what the purpose of the maze was, but at the same time, the baddie in it didn't inspire me, and I sort of wasn't interested. I'd certainly go and see it at the cinema, but yeah, and I mean the first one was a good plot. I liked the scenario, but it was kind of badly directed. It was saved a little bit by a couple of the main stars. The English actor, I don't know his name, but he was in Love Actually as
the kids in Love Actually.
Son. He played Liam Neeson's son, and he's grown up. He's a good young actor. And then the main guy, who's a bit of a cliche American, but not. I mean, he's better than the cliche. And right. So that saved it a little bit. Yeah, 5 out of 10.
Okay, well that's got UK released 11th of September. US actually, strangely enough, is a week after the UK, from what I saw on IMDb. So I don't know if that was a typo or whether that is genuinely the case, but yeah, I don't normally see those things that way around. Anyway, should we move on to... Oh, yeah.
There's two... They're not big stars, but there's 2 English actors in it. I wonder if they want to get positive numbers from the opening weekend in Britain, because people are going to be interested, a little bit more of the Englishness around, and that will transpose to America. They go, oh yeah, it's done quite well in Britain. Maybe they're thinking that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. So, should we move on to feature? Well, the double feature. Having your tanks related anecdote from slightly earlier, should we have your pick of favourite tank films to start before we find out why you've also selected Civil War?
Yeah, it brought to mind a couple of tank films, having been into tanks a lot, and they are Fury, which is the recent one. I don't know if we discussed it. I certainly I saw it twice actually. So I liked it that much.
Oh really? Okay. I think that might have been I think that was before we started recording. I think it'd been out for a while, so I don't think we started around the Oscar season 2015, and Fury was out some point towards the end of 2014. I don't think it wasn't released during the summer. I don't think. So I think it was right. Maybe I don't think it's come up in conversation at all in any of our it's a bunch of guys in a tank, but I assume it.
So go on.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I assume it supersedes that basic premise. We've got Brad Pitt as the main star. I think Shia LaBeouf in it, who does seem to crop up in a very random selection of films, and usually does a fairly decent job when he does. But
he's a bit quirky, isn't he?
Yeah.
You see that in his publicity or anti-publicity stuff that he's done as well.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's actually very good value in it. Yeah, it's very claustrophobic. These chaps sort of being very companionable in one way, and a bit like I was saying, band of brothers, but at the same time getting in each other and riling each other a little bit, and ruling the roost is Brad Pitt with his slick back hair, and he's been doing it for years. As he said, he's been killing Germans all over, North Africa, blah 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 blah. And now they're actually heading to Germany, and it's right at the end of the war, and it's very gritty. You feel like you're in the tank, really. It's and there's the young chap that comes into the tank team. I think he's a gunner. He's a machine gunner. And you see the story from his perspective. He's green, he's naive, he's an accountant or something that just coming into the war right at the end. He's never shot anybody. He's scared. Blah blah blah. He's the audience effectively.
Okay.
So that's style.
So the question is because I know what's coming up next. So is this the best? What? Sorry.
And a great end.
Yeah.
Dramatic. Boys' own adventure. Yeah, really good. Really good.
Question is this the best tank film, or is the next one we're about to do going to be the best tank film? I presume it's going to be one or the other.
No, I'd say they're equal because they're different. But it was one of my favourite films when I was a youngster. Kelly's Heroes.
Yeah. Starring we've got Clint Eastwood.
So we've got Donald Sutherland again. So
yeah. We got Telly, the guy who played Kojak, Telly Savalas.
He was quite good. He was quite good comedically. He was yeah. He was
Yeah,
good fun.
actually, you can make another James Bond connection here as well because he was Blofeld in On Her Majesty's Secret Service too,
Oh, right. Yeah, and I've got another Bond collection
and
in a bit.
and also right Don Mr. Potato Head Rickles, the guy I had a look through his filmography, and the only thing Don Rickles had done of much note was the voice of Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story, after after doing Kelly's Heroes. But anyway, yeah.
But yeah, great fun. I think I liked it, and I haven't watched it for years, but I'm sure I still would because it contrasts the very earnest, all those war films that I sort of grew up with, and I wonder why you watch them. Talking of which, I did go, for purposes of this recording, I did go back and watch the Battle of the Bulge, which is another epic tank-related film. If you want tanks, you've got them by the field. It's just tanks all the way. And I was tanked out after it, and I didn't want to see another tank. And then that so sort of sludgy film, and Robert Shaw being all sort of grim and serious and stern.
Is Henry Fonda any good?
Yeah, he's all right. He was getting a bit past it, I think, by then. But oh god, it was such a sort of drudgy, draggy film, war films, which often they were. And so, in contrast, Kelly's Heroes was very light because it was basically a comedy with Donald Sutherland playing this sort of trippy, hippified character called Oddball, and he's using that kind of late 60s language. Chill out, man.
Cool.
And he's really good. And he shoots paint bombs instead of real bombs.
Right.
Just to freak out the enemy. We freak out the enemy, man. So that made a kind of pacifist edge to it, which was a nice release from the normal drudgy war films that one was always used to.
Yeah. Okay, so actually I've got a bit of a trivia question for you regarding this, although it should be quite easy for you, although maybe the listeners or watchers at home might rack their brains if they haven't just watched Kelly's Heroes and Battle of the Bulge. But obviously there's one of the lead characters in Kelly's Heroes is also in Battle of the Bulge. Who is it?
Telly Savalas.
That's correct. Well, hopefully the people at home you got there before them, I imagine. Okay, cool. So finishing tanks. Why Civil War? Why? I mean, obviously it's kind of in the ballpark of tanks as well, I suppose. But
well, at the end of that day, it was a lovely day, lovely sunny day when I arrived here, and just below Great Bourton is the rather lovely little town, big village, Cropley, where the famous festival. I have a poster for its festival, which is coming up in a week's time, I think.
Okay, you're gonna have to give us an audio description for the podcast listeners. So it says Fairport's Cropody Convention. Is that headlined by Level 42?
Yes, I haven't even looked who's in it. Amy Lou Harris.
Okay, yeah, heard of her.
Ketzenjammer, Dread Zone, Fairport Acoustic, of course. Level 42 appears to be the big one. Then we've got the Proclaimers.
Oh, really? They're still going.
Yeah. We've got Fish. Do you remember him? He was in
him?
He was in a band called Marillion.
Oh, I've heard of Marillion. Okay, but it's just him. I presume the rest of Marillion are quite old and probably incapable of playing instruments now.
Got Scary Ball, Skinny Lister, Judith Owen, Fairport Convention again, Ian Matthews, Paul Carrick, Toya Wilcox.
Toya Wilcox, okay, yeah.
It's three. Band of Friends, Kevin Dempsey, and Rosie Carson, and the New Grass Cutters, and Richard Digance.
Right.
Haven't heard a lot of them.
Are you gonna go and see any of that, or are you going to be long gone?
No, I'll be long gone, but it's a shame that it didn't coincide just coincidentally with me being here, because I would definitely liked to mingle with the whole thing. But I can't wait here for a week. I've got to get on.
You've got to get to Scotland before the weather turns, even if it does sound a little bit windy where you are, as it stands anyway.
Yeah, it's not been great the last couple of days.
No,
sure.
Well, I assume your weather's still been quite similar to ours, seeing as you're not too far away yet, which is wind and rain in most part, but a nice day Saturday.
And so, going back to your Civil War reference,
where does this come in?
arrived at this place. I haven't been here before, and sat. There's a shop and a bridge, and I bought myself a drink and sat on this rather nice Englishy bridge, very quiet flowing little river, and watched a cricket match. And
Right, yeah.
then I saw a sign which basically quickly detailed that there was a relatively famous Civil War battle in 1644
Right.
between the Royalists and the Parliamentarians, and on
Okay.
that occasion the Royalists won by a run out. The Parliamentarians actually all ran off.
Oh, the-
They gave up because they were missing London apparently.
Okay, so well, that makes sense. We now have so.
And by the way, there is a song written about it by Fairport Convention, which I listened to last night, and it's folky hokum rubbish. So I wouldn't bother with that.
Okay, do you want to give it a name anyway? So if anyone else wants to find out the folky hokum rubbish that which you speak,
What
what's
the song?
the name is?
Red and Gold.
Red
it's
and
called.
Gold. Okay.
Yeah, put you off music for life.
Yeah. Okay, on to film. Right, so English Civil Wars, they were really hard to come by. No one really
Yeah.
wants to make English Civil War films, it seems. In fact, even I had a look in Spanish Civil War films. They were pretty hard to come by as well. It's all American Civil War, but about the best one I could come across was Cromwell.
Best.
Yeah, Cromwell from 1970, which in fairness had a good lot. Well, the two main leads of Richard Harris, who for modern listeners was the guy that played Dumbledore in the first couple of Harry Potters before he died,
Yeah.
and obviously Alec Guinness, who was in Lawrence of Arabia. I think was it Prince Faisal, wasn't it? And he's Obi-Wan Kenobi as well in the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
But from what I could see on IMDb, the film wasn't rated overly well. Did you did you have a look at it or read up on it or?
I had a trailer. It looked fairly good fun. Richard Harris being Richard Harris all over the place. Intense Irish kind of sensibility that he had, especially as a younger man. We got another Bond connection.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask it's a trivia question because I hadn't prepared a trivia question. Which Bond-related actor
Which Bond
Could
related
fan.
actor?
could be found in Cromwell? And this is not as obscure as that might sound. I'm making it more obscure to make it more difficult.
So
It's not.
okay, if you try and make it more obscure, is that by saying Bond related when you actually mean Sean Connery or Roger Moore?
You're getting closer. I'll give you one more chance.
Timothy Dalton.
That's the one. Yeah, young Timothy Dalton.
Okay.
What was that? 14 years before he played Bond, something like that.
Oh right, okay. Very interesting. And the other one was, we should just move on, Witchfinder General from 1968, which starred Vincent Price, the brilliantly vocal Vincent
Yeah.
Price. Again, any additionals on this?
Well, this looked like an overblown Hammer
Yeah.
horror film, really. Kitsch as you like. Vincent Price, he's kitsch just naturally. All the kitsch, the clips I saw looked. This is the sort of film that you would maybe watch on a Sunday afternoon after a large helping of stuffing and bread sauce and roast potato, and fall asleep in front of. Sort of maybe raise the odd chuckle. It's got the classic thing of executing witches by saying, if you sink, you're innocent. If you float,
you're a witch.
which is obviously parodied in
Yeah.
nicely in the Holy Grail, Monty Python. So,
Indeed. Okay, so I think those were basically
gosh, I wouldn't.
avoid that one.
I'd have stuffing. I wanted to watch that.
No, and that there is the pick of English Civil
Yeah.
War films. It seems so. Although an honourable mention to Mel Gibson, not the standard English Civil Wars, but definitely half Civil Wars, I guess you'd call them. Obviously, his double header of Braveheart with England against Scotland, and then the Patriots 5 years later in 2000, where it was the still technically. Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, still
just gonna-
technically Civil War. Yeah.
It's exposing that sort of anti-Englishness to America, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like, Braveheart did well. What was the next war? The big war the English lost. Oh yeah, it was that one against the States in the Battle for Independence. We'll do that one. And then, fortunately, we haven't lost one since. Yeah, we need to do one where, Vietnam, where get an Australian accent, Russell Crowe playing an Englishman, working for the Vietnamese or something like that. That, and then beating the Americans, kind of like the reverse Rambo, basically. I suppose, yeah, okay, anyway, yeah, enough of the Civil Wars left. Should we just sort of leave it there? I think we've done a fair bit of recording. Where
I've got
would you...
one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
One last point, film related. I did pass through. I stopped at the campsite just above Silverstone. I didn't realise it was that near Silverstone actually, but it soon became apparent because I happened to arrive there on a weekend where they're having a quite a famous vintage festival which included Formula One cars from the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
One of the classes, and I went and had a bit of a look at some of them. And related, I treated myself last night by watching a film because it's quite expensive on the dongle, so I don't do it very often. I went to watch Rush again.
Okay, yeah. This is James Hunt and the what's his name? Is he Norwegian?
Nicky Lauda.
Nicky Lauda, that's the one. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the year James Hunt won at Silverstone was 77, and actually the film is about their battle in 76. So that was a bit of a shame that didn't quite tie him.
Yeah.
And actually, I thought he kind of didn't do anything after 76, but he obviously did win a few races after that. He won Silverstone.
Still a good film.
His last mission.
Yeah. Still a good film.
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think
really
I saw it about a year ago. Quite enjoyed it as well. It was good. So yeah, questions, Toby. Future podcasts. Well, any other business before we talk about the future?
No. You fire a question away, and I'll.
So where are you? Where's your meandering? So you were talking about Canal Path to not Bristol to Birmingham, and.
Well, yeah, that was quite a good idea. I met these blokes in a pub called Greatworth or somewhere, and one of them came up with this idea of going along the canal path. But then since Greatworth. Since then, I've heard from two people that said, no, don't do it because it's riddled with addicts' needles.
Is that just when you get towards Birmingham, or all the way along?
Well, it seems seemingly all the way along. I spoke to a nice woman who said her brother did it a couple of years ago, this direction from Birmingham, probably for the festival or something. I don't know. He said he got 1 million punches from needles, and I heard it from somebody else as well. So given that I've heard it from two people,
you might be avoiding that route to save your tyres.
That's the last thing I want, is having a puncture every 3 miles or something.
So you're back to the drawing board then in terms of.
I've got routes around Birmingham up through Telford and then towards an auntie in south of Manchester, and then I'm going to head east across the coast to Scarborough.
Sounds very nice. So do you think we'll be recording again at some point in the next few weeks or months, or what's the?
I hope so.
Any film related locations to spot on the map that you might be passing by?
Well, I'm going through Stratford upon Avon in the next couple of days.
Okay.
I'll probably be stopping a bit beyond it, but that might be a bit too soon. That'll be in probably 2 days' time. There. I suppose, there's obviously going to be a few Shakespearean films. But we could talk about that in retrospect on a future location.
Indeed.
Nothing too filmy. Obviously, Manchester's pretty lots of films up there.
So there's stuff to work with, and I guess it's basically left open-ended, as the case should be. Actually, before we go, Toby, do you want to just give your laptop a quick spin around so we can see the campsite for YouTube? That's if the camera, it doesn't just kind of like white out as all of the light does it, but we'll see what happens. If you can give it a 360 rotation.
Okay. Well, I'll take it outside.
Maybe you want to do it as like a kind of advertising pitch for the campsite. What campsite are you at?
I forget its name. Something like Branston or something. But it's in It's in Great Bolton, so if
So-
you did want to come here, you could find it.
Would you is it a good place to go? Would you advise it
Yeah, it's
campsite wise?
It's a very neat, organised place. Completely the contrast of the last place I was in, which was basically just a field and a bog. You know, that was I mean,
Okay.
a bog and a drought.
Cool.
A marsh.
Which should we have a quick look before you go then? And
So it's campervan country.
campervan
With
country
what-
with one man in his tent.
Try and do this as professionally as I can.
Well, yeah, okay, all right. So, right, you're in the porch of the tent. Is it that looks like someone's fence? Are you just in someone's back garden?
So that's the bit. That's the cooker.
Oh yeah, yeah. The trader. Oh, okay. Yeah, there are a lot of caravans,
Yeah, basically this is
and then it's you in your tent, sort of.
the paddock with one tent in it.
Oh, someone's got a tent down there. Or is that just like a sort of porch that
That's
folds out of
connected
the
to
caravan?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's me.
there's a good old, yep, old reliable. Or well, maybe not old reliable because you're saying you might be replacing it soon, but
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it takes quite a while to put up and take down,
okay,
and so if I'm doing any wild camping
yeah,
and I suddenly get the farmer knocking at the tent flap,
yeah. You need
I
some
can't-
kind of pop-up tent
I
or
can't
something.
do that, so I'm going to get a pop-up tent.
Yeah, see how that goes.
Yeah. So,
Okay, that's cool, Toby. Well, I guess on that note, we should probably finish off, having seen the delightful campsite of which you're staying. And yeah, well, we will see when the next recording happens, I guess, and enjoy your continued journeys and so forth. And yeah, we will stop here. So I think that's it for this sort of special edition Stew Review. Should we put live at the end of it? It sounds, Stew Review live. Because it's kind of live. Yeah, definitely live recording. People will see that we don't edit things.
Live and on location.
On location, yeah. Stew Review on location. Yeah, sounds good. Live on location. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Plus, as I said, people can see, we don't edit our material. We're so super professional. Okay, anyway, Toby, it's good to see you, and